A little prediction from me about the colour of cars in the future. For the past 20 years, our roads have been littered with a rather dull, cloud-coloured set of cars. Almost everything that you see blends in perfectly to the miserable British weather, of which today is not too bad. The monochrome of Britain: white, silver, grey, black. An explanation as to why daytime running lights are now essential. But that's a different subject altogether. Because what I'm talking about is the future. And the future, I believe, is going to be colourful. It will be just for the moment. As you observe, the oncoming traffic is all just the same. The safe colours, the colours that dealerships like because they're easy to sell on. Nobody likes to be a personality these days. You could, in fact, just grayscale the whole of this video and you wouldn't really be able to tell any difference. But something new's been happening. Peugeot have been making colourful cars. Not only colourful, but really vibrant colourful cars as well. The same goes for Kia. Now, France, Peugeot, you can imagine, they're leaders in what we do next. Wouldn't really have thought the same thing with Kia, but things do change around the world. 20 years ago, Kia was a car that nobody wanted to buy anyway. But think back 30 years ago into the 90s. Everybody was reminiscing. Everybody was nostalgic of the 60s. There was a kind of feeling of freedom in the air and people wanted to wear colourful things and drive colourful things. And that changed because we started taking Germany a lot more seriously. Germany and their grey and silver cars. Cars that do the job, don't let you down. They became popular. And with that came the greys and the silvers in particular. Suddenly it was fashionable to not stand out, blend into the background and have nobody notice you. That's the way to be taken seriously, by not even being there. But if Peugeot and Kia can start this trend of lovely, colourful cars, maybe the car manufacturers that make vehicles that you want to drive will start doing the same thing too. And I think they will. So who's going to follow? Peugeot and Kia, already doing the right thing by making something more interesting. Who's going to jump on the bandwagon? Who's going to do the correct thing and see that that's the way ahead? Audi? Well, Audi have already given up trying to make cars for doctors. They've spent the past 10 years trying to sell cars to people that can only stay awake with a kind of Monster Energy drink. I think with that we can expect to see lots of very colourful Audi and BMW quite soon. The rest of the French manufacturers bound to follow. Ford, Vauxhall, they tend to do what everybody else is all doing anyway. MG, they've already started. Then there's Volvo, not too sure about that one. And if there's one car manufacturer that might just resist this somewhat, it's probably going to be Mercedes. It's going to be great. I reckon, my prediction is the year 2028 it will happen. But the year 2029 there will be an explosion of colour. Everywhere you'll look, it will look like some sort of hippie tea party. It's going to be great. We'll all be rejecting the Tesla generation of cars looking like white goods, because that's what they are. In fact, it might even be a tact to sell cars that nobody really wants. Whereas grey and silver were considered classy, understated, timeless. They're going to be thought of as cheap because they are cheap. It's cheaper to buy a white car than a grey one because so many people want that colour. That means they have an awful lot of that colour spare. And supply and demand means that rich and interesting colours are always going to be a bit more expensive. We should have a good 10 or 15 years worth of resurrecting the 70s, so that by the time 2045 comes around, it'll be looked at with a bit of embarrassment, but remembered fondly as well. There we go. That's my thought of the day. Nissan, Toyota, Honda, Mazda, or as the Americans call it, Mazda. All colourful cars that make you less inclined to be bored. Eh? Oh. Orange, the colour orange. That's something that I've noticed quite a bit recently. But I think we're going to see an awful lot of orange and yellow cars because they are, well, cheery, aren't they? It's a cheery colour. People like to see things that make them feel cheery. And why not start with the exterior of your car?